Hi, everyone. Welcome to Our Disabled Future, a series where disabled voices lead the way. I'm your host, Nico, and it is a good day for disability inclusion. Each day, during Disability Pride Month and beyond, I'm speaking with real disabled voices. Where we are, where we want to go, and how the heck we're going to get there. Together, I hope. Anyway, today I'm thrilled to be joined by Brandon. Let's dive in. Hi, Brandon. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, I'm very excited to be here and talking about topics that need to be talked about.
Tell us about yourself and about your disabled life.
Yeah, well, I'm Brandon, and I actually talk about disability awareness and advocacy on social media, and specifically about my diagnosis called arthrogryposis. It basically means that my joints are stiff, but honestly, there are about 300 to 400 varieties of my condition. So honestly, every story is different when it comes to my disability. So I'm just one particular or unique perspective of arthrogryposis. So there are many other stories out there. But I like to describe myself as a disabled, gay, Latino, creative, and disability advocate. And honestly, my life has always centered around creativity. So, specifically music. I have always sang in choirs. I've been playing piano for over 20 years now. And honestly, for me, music has not only been therapy, but specifically physical therapy. So, just to show the camera, my hands are stuck in a fixed position like this. And playing piano has allowed me to like really exercise my fingers, which has also um, really helped me develop my independence in my adult life. So honestly, music and piano and even the ukulele have been key components of opening up so many possibilities in my life. So I really encourage everyone to tap into music if possible, because honestly, I think creativity has always allowed me to figure out all of my struggles, my obstacles, and creatively do what everyone does, but in a different way. But I think it started with music and allowed me to think outside the box.
Thank you for letting me know. I loved hearing about how music can be physical therapy for you, as well as creatively nourishing. So tell me, Brandon, what does a disability friendly future look like for you?
I think for me, it really starts with society's point of view of disabled people. And I think the root of the perception when it comes to disabled people is value. What value can disabled people bring to society, to the world? And I think there needs to be a shift from the general conception of disabled people can't do anything, disabled people are helpless and they have so many struggles, to we hold value in the spaces that we occupy. And that needs to be highlighted, that needs to be acknowledged. And I think it really goes to society not treating disabled people as an afterthought. And that comes with, the architecture that's built in cities where disabled people should be at the forefront of those creations where, you know, when a building is created with stairs, are we ensuring that there are elevators? Are we ensuring that there are curb cuts on the sidewalks to these buildings? Because if you're not able to access anywhere, then we're not able to provide the impact that we truly hold inherently. And I think another aspect that I do like to talk about specifically is nightlife. Um, I think for me, to start, or at least one of the starting points to change societal perspective, is we need to exist in all the places, not just in the places that are accessible, but by changing like clubs and any sort of bars and nightlife. Because if there's no representation there, conversations cannot be started. So I want, you know, clubs and bars and lounges to start thinking about accessibility more. And in my case, I am mobile, but there have been times when the staircases are too, too long, or there are multiple staircases, and personally I cannot handle that much mobility upwards, just because my joints are stuck in position. So if we're able to get more representation into like nightlife, I think the intermingling of like disability communities and able-bodied communities in that nightlife aspect, we can start those conversations, especially in terms of leisure. And for me, I think a creative way to create a disability-friendly future is by also occupying the spaces of leisure and having representation in there.
This is a unique and necessary viewpoint. Thank you. It's not something I've ever really heard, so I appreciate the unique viewpoint you offer. How do we get to that disability friendly future? What strategies do we use? What do you think?
I think it starts with reevaluating the policies that we have in place for disabled people, like the ADA and any sort of legislation that comes from providing accessibility to people. I think it's about making sure or having representatives in leadership that makes sure that access isn't optional but is expected when it comes to building cities, holding events in cities, and that sort of thing. I think it's also about reevaluating current policies that are outdated. So I think one that is always in circulation of conversation is marriage penalty that is under Social Security. And for anyone who may not know, when a disabled person who's receiving benefits gets into a marriage, there's uh, this, I guess, legislation where disabled people lose a lot of the benefits that they had prior to going into the marriage. It also creates a cycle of poverty where we aren't able to have a sufficient savings financially, to help ourselves. And that also goes into supplemental security income. That is capped at $2,000, and that hasn't been updated since the 1980s. So if we are considering inflation and our current economic market, that cap is not realistic at all. And I think another one is preserving disability history. I think understanding how far we have come, how much more we still need to do in terms of the strides that we have made as disabled people. But that also starts with, having disabled people in leadership positions and encouraging a lot of um, our voices to be represented in these large conversations of legislation and how government implements a lot of those things. Um, and I understand these are really big ideas, but I also think it's very possible. I think um, we have made so many strides in since I guess the 1980s, um, where I think we can still do so much more. And I really thank you for this podcast because I think it's helping with that conversation. And lastly, I think we just need to restructure health insurance policies because honestly, a lot of our insurance policies do not cover a lot of the medical devices that a lot of people need, but insurance policies don't deem that as coverable or needing of coverage, and that still puts a lot of people into a cycle of poverty. So if we're able to restructure a lot of those legislative pieces and policies that are created by able-bodied perspectives, um, I think that will help secure a better future for disabled communities and the reality of it.
Thank you. I love those specific calls to action as somebody who received disability income in his youth myself. All right, Brandon, as we close our time together today, I want to give you a chance that you and I, as disabled people, rarely get. That's a chance to brag about yourself, promote something cool you've done recently, or maybe it's something you've still got in progress. If you want to be found online, where can people find you online? This is just a chance for you to be your own cheerleader. So go ahead, let's hear it.
Yeah, so like I mentioned in the beginning, I love music. I have always been involved in music. So I am a singer, songwriter, and producer. I also produce music for local artists here. So I have my own music studio. So I do have music on all streaming platforms. You can find me at Brandon Dillon. So BrandonDyLN. So Brandon Dillon, like with the vowels, was taken, so I had to take out the vowels. So you can find me literally everywhere: Spotify, Apple Music, and stuff like that. My sister and I also have a digital creative business that we run, and you can find us on YouTube. We have also like a mini podcast called The Biggie Collective, BIGI. And then lastly, I do a lot of disability awareness and advocacy content on mostly TikTok, but you can also find me everywhere at Brandonisms. And yeah, I talk about my condition, arthrogryposis, and specifically dating with a disability because I feel like that content is so needed when you're going on dating apps. And how do you disclose your disability? And what does dating look like? And how do you navigate finding love and also balancing what disability means to you?
Thank you. That all sounds awesome. And I'll put those links in our video description when I post this. All right,
Awesome.
folks, tune in next time. Remember, this is our disabled future, and we're building it one day at a time together. Wherever you go, whatever you do, I'm rooting for you, and I can't wait to see what you do next. Bye.